Rachel, and today I would like to tell you about House of Furies by Madeline Rowe. This is Madeline's newest novel, her last series that I read pretty much all of them in. Actually, I think all of them that have been published is the Asylum series, which I've talked about on my channel before. Those are really good, so I was super excited to hear about this one coming out. This one just came out last month, and I requested an arc of it, and I never really heard anything, so I assumed I just wasn't going to get one. And then lo and behold, like 2 days before this came out, I got a final copy in the mail from the publisher, and I was super excited. However, all of the opinions I'm about to share are definitely my own. Now, as I mentioned, I was super excited about this one. I'd read her Asylum series before, and that follows teenagers who are housed in this college setting in this old asylum, and of course, you know, hauntings and spooky things happen in that one. So I was excited to see a new take and some new characters, a new storyline from her. This one is definitely that. All I knew going into this was that this book was about a girl who came to work as kind of a maid in this house called Cold Thistle that was run by the devil. So immediately I was definitely interested, and I can't remember exactly when this book takes place. Let me see the first date here. North of England, 1810. So it does have an old Englishy feel to it, the way people dress and talk and like the mannerisms. And basically this old crone finds this main character, her name is Louisa, in this kind of marketplace setting telling fortunes. And she's not necessarily a fortune teller, but she's telling these fortunes anyway to make some money because she's basically living on the street. She's had kind of a rough life up to this point, and this old woman says, if you come with me to Cold Thistle Mansion, I can give you employment as kind of a maid, and it's free room and board, you get fed, and she, the main character Louisa, is hoping to save up enough money to move to America and start a new life for herself. So she agrees, and immediately things are kind of weird. And the carriage that they're taking to Cold Thistle, it's full of bird cages, and there's really no explanation for all these birds, and they meet this old man and this young man along the way, and they are assisted by this couple because I think it was like a broken wheel or something, and that's how we're introduced to one of the other main characters. His name is Lee. He's the young man. They are heading to Cold Thistle as well. Then when they get to Cold Thistle, they meet the owner, Mr. Morningside, and he is a little bit strange. He kind of stays in this kind of dark basement room in this beautiful mansion, and that also seems weird to Louisa. There is some dark, shadowy figures that are lurking around the manor. That is very odd. There are some very interesting characters that are staying at Cold Thistle, which it turns out is kind of like a boarding house for people who are traveling. And it turns out that there is a very specific type of person who is drawn in to stay at this manor, and it has to deal with Mr. Morningside, who owns this house. So I'm not going to give you too much more of the description of what happens in this book because I really think you should read it. And I thought, and I'm not spoiling it when I say the house is run by the devil, because they tell you that in like the very first page, which I will say I kind of wish they didn't, because I think that would have been fun to explore as you made it through the book to try to figure that out. Although I think it does help explain certain things because there's a lot going on in this. So I'm torn. Part of me wishes that wasn't there immediately, because I think you would figure it out definitely about halfway, just 75% of the way through the book. But I loved the idea of this book. I actually really, really liked Mr. Morningside. I was okay with Louisa. I thought for a main character, she wasn't my favorite. I felt like some of the characters in this were not as strong, but we do meet a lot of different characters who are living in this house. There is a young girl who has a special talent. There is a teenage girl there that has a very mysterious past, and it all comes together with a very interesting twist. What you get used to in her former book series, Asylum, are these images, these really creepy images that are including. It's kind of the same style as Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. You're flipping through, and then there's all of a sudden an old picture included in one of the pages that goes along with what you're hearing about. And I really, really liked that in her Asylum series. So I was hoping for the same thing here. It didn't happen exactly that way. This is really about as much a picture as you get, photo-wise, and if you can't see it, it's basically like kind of a bluish tinted wall with some photo frames and just some random pictures in it. Not too creepy. But what I liked about this one is there were little pieces, little excerpts from a book or a journal by Mr. Morningside, and they do have some illustrations in there, and it's kind of about mysterious and mystical things he found in his travels, and it all ties in really, really well to the story. I thought it added so much. It kind of reminded me of maybe like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, kind of like you could take all these out and make another like book basically. So I thought that part was really interesting. I really, really, really like the idea of this book. I think the execution wasn't as amazing as I had hoped it would be. I think it could go a little bit more, so I'm hoping there's definitely going to be more of these. I believe this is going to be a series, but there's no official word yet, but I'm really excited to see where things take off from here, because this is definitely world building and kind of setting up the scene for us. I feel like there's a lot that happens, but you are kind of uncovering all of this and coming to terms with all this while Louisa, the main character, does as well. So I'm very, very much looking forward to the second one in this series, and I give this probably a 4 out of 5. I love the idea. I love most of the things in the book. The main character, like I said, kind of was okay for me, and I think sometimes the dialogue was a little bit awkward for me since they were trying to be from the 1800s, but overall I really, really like this. I cannot wait to go back to school and tell the kids about this. I think they're gonna love it. I think this is gonna be appropriate definitely for my high school students, grade 9 and up. There are a couple of really gory scenes though, so if you are younger than 9th grade, definitely make sure you're ready for that, because there's one particularly super gory scene, so just heads up. There's nothing really inappropriate in this book though, just a couple of gory scenes, because it is supposed to be pretty spooky and it's kind of supernatural, so keep that in mind. Like I said though, I gave it a 4 out of 5. If you're looking for a fun read that's a little bit spooky, kind of interesting, definitely give this a try. And then if you like this one, definitely go check out her Asylum series. Also, I would recommend those for probably high school age as well. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on House of Furies. Thank you so much for Harper Teen for sending this to me. I absolutely loved it and cannot wait to pass it on to some of my students. And thank you again for watching, and I will see you again soon with another video. Bye for now.